Hello and welcome to Church Headlines, your weekly Catholic news recap. Let's dive right in. A brand new survey just showed that Pope Leo XIV is currently the highest rated world leader among Americans, and by a lot. His approval rating beat out presidents and prime ministers like Trump, Zelensky, and Macron. The Pope had a net favorable rating by 46 points, while the next closest was President Zelensky with just 18 points. Most of the others actually had net negative ratings. While the world is seeing more and more polarization, it seems that Pope Leo has managed to connect with people on both sides of the political spectrum. Now heading to Argentina, the world's largest mural has just been unveiled, and it's dedicated to Pope Francis. Painted by the renowned artist Martin Ron, this massive work stretches nearly 50 meters high on the side of a building in La Plata, Argentina. The mural depicts Pope Francis smiling and stretching out his hand with a white dove, a symbol of hope and peace. And there's actually a nice backstory here. The inspiration for the image came from a moment back in 2013 when a group of pilgrims handed Pope Francis a dove in Rome. The dove found itself so comfortable with the Pope that it refused to leave his hand for a while. Meanwhile, in India, 2 Catholic nuns were recently harassed by Hindu extremists while traveling, accused of trying to forcibly convert people, despite there being zero evidence. The sisters were traveling with 2 young women who were about to begin working at a Catholic hospital, but a mob that was reportedly led by the militant Hindu nationalist group Bajrang Dal accused them of forced conversion and trafficking of the 2 women, despite the fact that the women were already Christians, were of legal age, and even had parental consent to begin working at the hospital. Unfortunately, the railway police arrested the nuns rather than defending them, leading to a national scandal. The nuns have since been released from prison, but sadly this is another example of the discrimination Christians sometimes face in areas influenced by more radical forms of Hindu nationalism. Back in Rome, Pope Leo XIV just made life a little easier for Vatican families. He approved new labor reforms that give fathers more fully paid days of paternity leave after the birth of a child. And for parents caring for a child with severe disabilities, they'll now be able to take 3 fully paid days off every month. It's a meaningful change, and it shows Pope Leo's desire to align Vatican workplace practices with Catholic social teaching, especially its emphasis on the dignity of work and the importance of family life. Hey, if you haven't already done so, please do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. It's a big help for the channel, and we'll make sure that you're able to stay up to date with the Catholic world.
The global leader of the Emmanuel Community, Michelangelo has just stepped down, pointing to internal strains and differences within the movement. De Vergil had been re-elected for a second 5-year term in 2023, but he described the last 2 years as being particularly tough. He cited divisions within the community's leadership and the deep sadness caused by the abuse committed by some of its members. This resignation also comes just a couple months after the Vatican began an apostolic visitation of the community. This is when the Vatican sends bishops to review leadership structures and speak with the members, a move that had been asked for by the community itself. The Emmanuel Community was founded in Paris in 1972, and it's present in 60 countries around the world with around 12,000 members. It's known for its charismatic spirituality, its parish revitalization work, and numerous priestly vocations. So while this is a difficult chapter, hopefully the changes over the last months will bring renewal for the community's important mission. Over in the United States, there is a growing concern for religious freedom after a sharp increase in church attacks in 2024. According to the Family Research Council, there were 415 different attacks on Christian churches, ranging from arson to vandalism to shootings and bomb threats. To put that in perspective, in 2021 there were only 98 such incidents, so that's more than 4 times the number in just a few years. The recent attack on a Minneapolis Catholic school during Mass is one of the latest terrible examples. The motivation for these attacks varies, of course, and many times the motivation remains unclear. But the trend suggests that America's churches are facing a level of hostility that used to be unthinkable. We have to remember that America is a land that was originally founded, in part, by people seeking a place where they could practice their religion freely. We can think back to the Pilgrims at Plymouth, the Puritans in Massachusetts Bay, Pennsylvania, which was established by William Penn as a refuge for the Quakers, or Maryland, which was of course founded as a haven for English Catholics. Here's a story that sounds straight out of science fiction. Various articles have been reporting that a laboratory in China just announced that it's developing robots equipped with artificial uteruses, supposedly capable of giving birth to babies. Apparently, the project is quote-unquote mature and commercially ready, with prototypes expected to sell for around $14,000 in 2026. The artificial uterus would supply nutrients to the developing fetus through a tube and surround it with a synthetic amniotic fluid. The details about how this process would work are still pretty vague, and the sources of information about the company behind this new technology may be suspect. But the story has gone viral on social media, so even if this technology is still in the realm of science fiction, the very idea of an artificial womb touches a deeply human nerve. After all, the process of gestation is not just a mechanical process of nourishment and growth. There's a constant and subtle exchange between mother and child of cells, hormones, and signals that shape the immune system. On top of that, important psychological processes happen too. The unborn child begins to recognize its mother's voice, which helps build emotional bonding and language development. So while biotechnology is a wonderful thing and has saved many lives, we must be careful to make sure that in our effort to improve human life, we don't lose sight of what it means to be human in the first place. In Africa, a study has revealed a terrible statistic. An average of 32 people are killed every day in Nigeria simply for being Christians. The report was recently published by the International Society for Civil Liberties and the Rule of Law. The violence against Christians can be attributed to around 22 Muslim jihadist factions across the country, whose stated aim is the eradication of Christianity from Nigeria in the next 50 years. Since 2009, 185,000 Nigerians have been killed in religiously linked violence. Most of them are Christians, but there have also been tens of thousands of Muslims killed by the jihadists for being quote-unquote too liberal. Many critics say the Nigerian state is failing to protect its people, and some even accuse it of being complicit. Back in Rome, Michelangelo's famous Last Judgment in the Sistine Chapel is about to get a facelift. The Vatican Museums has announced a major restoration project of the work, which will undergo a careful cleaning in 2026. The masterpiece, which was painted in the 16th century, has been admired by millions, but it's also vulnerable to damage from time and pollution. The last restoration took place between 1980 and 1994, so the Vatican has emphasized that this new restoration will be done with cutting-edge techniques to preserve Michelangelo's vision for future generations. In Nicaragua, the Ortega regime has once again confiscated church property, seizing it without due process. This time it was a school owned by Catholic nuns. The San Jose or St. Joseph School in Jinotepe has been run by the Josephine Sisters for 40 years, but it has now been renamed the Bismarck Martinez Educational Center in honor of a Sandinista militant. Sadly, it's just the latest in a series of crackdowns on Catholic institutions, which have seen church seminaries closed, clergy arrested or expelled, and properties confiscated. It's a way for the Ortega dictatorship, which has ruled since 2007, to silence one of the last independent voices in the country. Nicaragua was just ranked as the second most corrupt country in Latin America after Venezuela by the Corruption Perception Index. And finally, some lighter news to close on. Pope Leo XIV has just released his very first book as Pope. Since Wednesday, August 27th, the book Let There Be Peace is available in bookstores in English, Italian, and Spanish. The book gathers together his first addresses as Pope, and it focuses on themes close to his heart: the pursuit of peace, communion in the church, and the primacy of God.
And that wraps up this week's edition of Church Headlines. Thank you for joining us as we keep you informed on the latest developments in the Catholic world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, God bless.